Okay, both streams should be up and running. Should be able to hear me. Should be able to see charts here. We do, again, just have a couple of trades to go over today. And we'll be talking about the market as some pretty interesting price action that we got again today. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for July 16th, 2021. SPY down 0.77, Qs down 0.81, and then IWM up or down over 1%, almost 1.25%. Okay, well, we knew that IWM has remained the weakest, especially on the larger time frames here, of the three, much weaker than the Qs and SPY. Okay, we outlined going into today kind of two scenarios. Okay, one was a gap down. If we get a gap down, then we'll be bearish. If we create a pivot, a lower high, and then roll over in the afternoon, that's the second scenario. Okay. The SPY didn't really produce a lower high. It kind of just got a gap up that got sold, but we did break underneath the low. Okay. So it kind of produces the same result just through a different means. Okay. So Qs and SPY. And then Qs pretty much did what we were expecting, which is lower high somewhere around the 20 MA and then get continuation or sell off into the afternoon. Okay, so we have what we outlined in the Qs and SPY to be short-term bearish. Now, why short-term? Okay, is because we're still in an uptrend on the daily. Now, if the downtrend continues on the hourly, then the uptrend on the daily will eventually break. I think what would be most telling and the confirmation that the uptrend is broken on the Qs and SPY would be any attempt to move up next week and then failing underneath that attempt to move up. So basically creating a buy setup and then breaking underneath the buy setup without making a new high. Okay. It might be a lot to ask for just next week, but over time. Okay. And then that'll also kind of confirm for us the hourly bringing the daily down with it. Okay, so we're looking at the hourly chart to predict the next hours and days. If we get some kind of failure on the daily, like, you know, maybe Monday is an inside day, and then we move up, and then on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, we break underneath that, right? Then we would be bearish for potentially the next days and weeks. Okay, so we have a short-term bearish bias starting on Monday of next week on the Qs and SPY. Okay, IWM we were already bearish on, and is kind of getting, at least from this last pivot, into a decent spot now. And so wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of a bounce just on Monday, but we're going to remain bearish depending on the size of that bounce. Okay. All right, let's get into the plays from today. TRQ was a really nice gap. Okay, but because this opened late, I think this was a hard one to play. You're going to see there's a couple things outlined that I kind of went back and looked at to see, okay, was there ways to get into this? There is some consolidation ways to play this, okay, to get into it and be a part of this downtrend on the TRQ. Because, you know, you look at it at the end of the day and say, well, what a great gap and what great follow through. Huge red bar on the daily, but it wasn't that easy, I think, to play, okay? So that was okay. FGen did have setups this morning. Okay, here was the first one. You can see it's just consolidating at the lows there. I actually tried here and did not get filled, and so then I had to try again in here when it did this pace, and then I was able to get filled on this one. Okay, so both of them basically the same setup on the 2-minute actually. So I may be a little bit lucky in that it set up again and didn't just go without me, which, well, sometimes that's what happens. So you can see here first the red bar, and then you get a higher low, and then breaks underneath, okay? And then after that break, higher low, and then came in again. And so then this was okay. I did hold this until end of day and eventually got trailed out on, I think above 60 or above 70. I don't know what my fill was. Actually, I haven't checked yet. But I was in it until the end of the day, until that pop right there. I did get some out, I think around 1350 or so. So it wasn't a big play. I think the gap was a little bit too big on the FGen, but as far as significant gaps, it was probably the most significant gap we had today. Okay, so I thought it was worth a shot. But the gap really only need gap to like 1830 or so. You see the gap's way too big. But it was still kind of the most effective, damaging pro gap that we had to work with today. Okay. AEHR, I really like what's happening here on the weekly and the monthly. You can see the weeklies transitioning higher, monthly kind of carved out a nice buy set up there. But I thought this was a little bit too wild to play today. And we've seen a lot of this stuff lately. And look at that, right? So this, you would have been able to take some here. That's an okay pullback. In the morning, had a decent breakout. But you can just see how wild these things are. Verb, XELA, a lot of these, even though they're low priced, they just move in chunks, like as if they're $20, $30 or more stock, they can move. Look at this in 1 minute, right? 20 cents in 1 minute. So they're a little bit volatile. So I ended up letting this one go because even when you get the direction right, based on where you get in and where you get out, a lot of that wild kind of jumpiness ends up eating a lot of the profit that you should have got, right? So if I'm getting in 5-10 cents, slippage, and then getting out, I'm trying to trail it, and then it drops 15 cents in a hurry. That really makes a big difference. So I thought this was a good looking chart, just kind of like not that easy to trade. And FGen wasn't even really that easy. FGen had 10 to 15 cents spread sometimes at the open. Like I said, the first time I tried it, I couldn't get filled even. It just went right without through my stop. So, yeah, it wasn't all that easy either. Okay, so I'm optimistic that next week will be better than this week was. This week I thought was pretty slow. We had some gaps. A lot of the financials reported. But we should have more next week. And especially if the market starts to increase in volatility, I think that'll give us more things to play. Okay, so I think to this week, and I heard last week also was a pretty good test of discipline. But hopefully, we'll get to pick things up next week. I won't be here next week. I'm still finishing up the moving process. So next week, hopefully I can get everything moved in and set up again before the end of the week. But I think Monday, next Monday at the latest. Okay, we'll be back to the regular schedule and should be good to go. Okay. All right. Hope you had a good week and have a great weekend. I will talk to you hopefully next week. If not, then the week after. Okay. Have a good weekend, everyone.